stock at the right time.
Hello and welcome to Bloomberg Queen. This is the Market Wrap. I am Agam Vakil, and we have seen the benchmark indices once again extend their gains. Starting off with the Nifty, well, it's largely traded in the green, and we have seen it maintain itself. And while we've seen the Nifty move within a very tight range, we've seen it close eventually in the green all the same. The reasons behind the gains in today's day of trade are essentially the metals counters such as Hindalco, Vedanta and Tata Steel. In fact, substantial gains coming in, something like a Hindalco, as you can see here, gaining 9%, Vedanta advancing by as much as 7%. And weakness in your oil marketing companies persists. So we have about 7% decline in BPCL, is followed by HPCL and Indian Oil Corp. Coming down to broader markets, we have 3 gainers in comparison to 2 losers when it comes to the Nifty 500, and Merck India stands at right at the top. It's followed by Hindustan Copper, up as much as 12%, and Shipping Corp as well, advancing by as much as 10%. On the losing end, however, we are looking at more weakness in Balrampur Chini and Bhushan Steel, followed by Bombay Rayon. So some amount of volatility with respect to that stocks, but on the whole, the advance decline ratio remains positive, and that is something to take home for, at least as far as the bulls are concerned. But let's get a little more perspective and behind these variables in the markets. We have Neeraj Shah joining us. Neeraj, could I say the consolidation continues? Because I know that the Nifty has moved up further, but we really aren't seeing too much momentum around here.
No, we aren't seeing too much of momentum. But for the fact, Agam, though, that the mid caps and the small cap index in particular saw some late buying. So when we started the countdown show at about 2 o'clock, they were up about 0.3%. The small cap index ended up about 0.9%, though not too much of a change in the market breadth per se, but still doing reasonably okay. I thought one standout feature of today's session was that it was a return of some momentum stocks. The previous 2 sessions, we had seen only defensives being at the center stage. Somehow this time around, we saw a bit of a change. High beta, like commodities, for example, came back into the fray, which was, from a bull's perspective, a heartening sign. But what we're also seeing, and I'm sure you would have seen it in the build-up in their futures and options, you'll probably talk about it as well, that bad news are getting punished, and punished in a meaningful way. OMCs were a case in point. I think Titan, the one that you spotted out here, is a case in point as well. 2.5% down today, was down about a couple of percentage points in the session previously as well. So there are specific bad news which are getting punished. IndusInd Bank today corrected a little bit as well. Maybe a case of over expectations and under delivery, whatever you call it. So there were a few pieces like that, but by and large, par for the day course, a return to normalcy, and I would qualify normalcy right now as the markets being in a stage of buying any kind of dip that comes across. The sell on rally template is out. For now, we seem to be in a zone wherein people are buying the dips.
Right, fair enough. Thanks, Neeraj. But, coming down to technicals, is that what our technical experts are also saying? And are they also suggesting buying in dips when it comes to the benchmark indices? Well, we have Jay Bala and Brijesh Singh talk to us about how charts are looking when it comes to the benchmarks. Listen in.
The resistance comes in at about 10,625, and I think market's likely to see some sort of a extreme short-term dip from there, and that should be something that needs to be bought in. I'm of the opinion that the market is heading for record highs. It's a reasonably good possibility. I've been saying that for the last couple of weeks, and so watch out for the dips. The dips are likely to be very shallow.
As a trader, if we talk about, then 10,420 to 10,440 is the support. If this holds on, then the rally would be continuing. But as a aggressive trader, what one can take an initiative in a Nifty. If Nifty comes around 10,535, one can take a buy call in it, with keeping a stop loss of 10,500 and looking for the target of 10,580 to 585. And if 85 crosses and holds on there for say 10-15 minutes, then the short covering can pull the rally of the Nifty to 10,620 to 10,625.
So that's the call on the benchmark indices. But one stock which is becoming a regular feature in our show is Fortis Healthcare for some reason or the other. And again, we have Yatin Mota who's joining us for more updates with respect to Fortis Healthcare. And we've got this time more updates from, the Munjal Burman camp.
Yeah. And importantly, Agam, we have the all-important board meeting
of Fortis Healthcare scheduled for today. Of course, the board is sitting on 4 offers. Of course, all of them were unsolicited, and now they have entered into talks with Manipal with respect to a transaction. Of course, the Manipal offer was valuing the entire hospital business at close to 6,000 odd crores, which was, of course, after the revision of 20% that they had done. Also, we have offer coming in for IHH for investing up to 4,000 crores at a price of 160 rupees per share. We also had Fosun, which expressed interest to, pump in money at a price of 156 rupees per share, or a SEBI formula, whichever is higher. And, the early morning news, which was basically the Munjal family office and the Burman family office looking to improve the quantum of money which was, to be pumped, and more importantly, the price. Now, instead of pumping in close to 1,250 crores and doing a due diligence, the Munjals and the Burman family office came out with a new offer which entails infusing 1,500 crores by equity. That will, happen in 2 tranches. Number 1 would be 500 crores immediate infusion at a price of 156 rupees, or whichever is the regulatory requirement. And number 2 would be infusion of 1,000 crores via warrants issue at a price of 161 rupees 60 paise. This price is, one of the highest which has been quoted by any investor or a company which has shown interest in, participating in the Fortis story. And, since it's a warrant issue, 25% of this 1,000 crores will be infused immediately. So 750 crores comes in directly for Fortis, which the Burman and Hero family believes that would be used to reduce debt and, improve the working capital of the company. And they also said that they will be supporting any kind of a fund requirement, for RHT asset acquisition. Of course, interestingly, last night we had minority shareholders of Fortis, which includes Jupiter Fund and Eastbridge, moving and asking the company to conduct an EGM to remove 4 directors which are currently on the board of Fortis Healthcare, replacing them with 3 independent directors of their choice. And if that were to go through, probably the entire process gets stalled, or probably gets a new direction. So very important to watch out for what exactly the minority shareholders want to do, and what exactly board is currently evaluating in terms of the requests of the minority shareholders for conducting an EGM, and more importantly evaluating all the bids and transforming those bids in the best interest of the minority shareholders of Fortis Healthcare.
Right, thanks for that, Yatin. Of course, as per indications, we're expecting plenty of twists and turns in this particular story with respect to Fortis Healthcare, and we'll keep getting you updates. But we've also had earnings come in, and IndusInd Bank, of course, also came out with the earnings. Just before we go to Shraddha and bring her in when it comes to the earnings, just want to take a look at the intraday graph of IndusInd Bank. It was around 130 when we started getting the numbers. We did see a sharp drop, but eventually we started looking at a little bit of recovery, eventually closing the day with less than 1% cut. So let's bring in Shraddha and try to understand a little more about the numbers and what's actually impacted the stock here. So Shraddha, why don't you take us through the numbers?
Right, so operationally for IndusInd Bank, it was an inline quarter, met estimates. The net interest income grew by 20%, net profit grew by 27%. There's a small 3 basis points dip in the net interest margins, but loan growth was steady, came back at about 28%, mainly driven by the vehicle finance book. The key here is when it comes to asset quality, though the headline asset quality number was stable on a sequential basis with the gross NPA at 1.17%. The divergence in gross NPA as per RBI's assessment was higher at 1,350 crores. However, that now has come down to 185 crores, and that is on account of these accounts either getting upgraded, paid, or turned into NPA. So that's probably the reason we saw that sharp reaction when the divergence numbers came in. But today, the divergence number is at about 185 crores. It's a small number, and that's probably the reason the stock managed to pay some losses.
All right, there you have it. So those are the numbers for IndusInd Bank, but we are expecting yet another behemoth to announce their earnings, and by that I mean TCS. So we're expecting a good quarter, about a 2.3% growth when it comes to its top line, 2.4% growth in rupee terms, and we're expecting EBITDA margins to, or rather EBIT margins to expand to around 25.5% in comparison to 25.2%. And don't forget, we can also expect profits to move up by as much as 4.3% quarter on quarter, and this is as per Bloomberg expectations. We could likely see a temperance in the margins guidance for FY19. Two reasons. One, of course, is because TCS so far in the year has not managed to move back into the guided range of 26 to 28%. Second, of course, is Infosys has come up and said that they are reducing their margins guidance. And in terms of the numbers and the factors behind expectation and growth, of course, we are looking at a lot of big deals which will aid revenues growth for TCS. Don't forget that a lot of these deals, such as Nielsen and Scottish Widows, are front-ended. So all these numbers will show up in TCS's earnings. We are also expecting a little bit of a currency impact to come in as far as TCS is concerned. Positive impact on the margins. What are we keeping an eye on? Well, tie-ups in the Internet of Things, clouds and analytics for TCS, and of course commentary on the banking and financial space, which the management so far has been in wait and watch mode. But on the whole, we're expecting reasonably good set of numbers, and while it may not be such a great comparison to go and run the numbers against Infosys, perhaps slightly better than Infosys in terms of growth. So that's as far as Infosys is or rather TCS is concerned, and we'll be watching out for numbers as well as several other companies or several other smaller companies which will be coming out with their earnings. But that's a wrap on the markets for now. But don't go anywhere. Lots more lined up, so stay tuned in the Bloomberg Quint.